There are times I'm having a hard conversation with somebody that I'm emotionally connected to. And when it gets to a point, I just want to walk away. I just want to go into another room. I just want to be done with it. I'm sure that you all have situations like that in your life where you have a conversation, it's going nowhere. You feel like it's already out of whack. You feel like that nothing good's going to come of it. And then you want to leave. You want to hang up the phone. You want to get in your car, drive away. Hang through the rough parts. Hang through the times you feel weird or the times you feel uncomfortable. Because if you hang in there, maybe as you continue to talk, some clarity can be manifested between the two people. Way and word, knowledge every session. We don't take losses. We learn lessons. Not your pastor, but I might preach to you a little bit. Okay, today I got a very interesting topic, and the topic is how to navigate hard conversations or how to navigate crucial conversations. I actually came across a very interesting exchange by two boxers. One's name is Tio Lopez. The other one's name is Keyshawn Davis. And they were part of a boxing event Thursday that involved the main event being Tio, and then the co-main, or the one up under, which is called the undercard. That was Keyshawn Davis. But before that, they did have a press conference right before the big event, maybe a day before. And the way they had them set up in the press conference was Tio was next to Keyshawn, even though Tio is not facing Keyshawn. Tio is actually facing some guy named Ortiz. Spoiler alert, this match already happened. Tio won. So at the press conference before the match, Keyshawn and Ortiz were actually sitting next to each other. And they had a very interesting exchange. And what I really want to hone in on is the exchange that they had, because it was what I would call a masterclass of navigating a very hard conversation. In our lives, we have a lot of hard conversations, and I think sometimes we shy away from them. I don't really do the hard conversation well. So in my opinion, I think any help would be necessary, at least for me and maybe for you. And I think these two boxers can give us a lesson on how to really navigate the waters when having a hard conversation with maybe a friend, maybe a family member, maybe even your kids, maybe your boss, maybe your associates that report to you if you are a boss. I want to really dive in to what Tio and Keyshawn said to each other. So I'm going to play the entire video once, and then after that, I'll go back through it, and then we'll piece it all together, and we see what we can learn from it, because there's a lot of good information here. All right, let's check this out.
What made you mention my name in the interview? That's a question.
You said Crawford will beat you.
It's just an opinion.
I don't like it. I hope you respect that.
I respect it.
I'm not saying Pedraza's going to beat you.
Nah, I ain't say that. Because you know that's not going to happen.
Maybe it can.
Everybody can when you step in that ring.
Just don't bite the bullet.
Hey, Tio, I never disrespected you, right? I took that as disrespect what you said.
You did?
For sure. They ain't even mention my name when you brought it up.
You know, a lot of times they mix my words up.
I seen the video.
You did?
I seen it.
Well, I didn't mean to disrespect you, brother. Good business.
All right, so very interesting interaction between two up-and-coming boxers. I do want to get more into what the backstory is, because it seemed like there may have been some conversations happening before this interaction happens. A lot of times, some of the hardest conversations, you said this, why'd you say this about me, I'm very interested in just how they became so polite with each other here, because the rules of engagement are just flawless. Both of them had the spirit of Proverbs 18:1-2. And here's what Proverbs 18:1-2 says. An unfriendly person pursues selfish ends, and against all sound judgment starts quarrels. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. So right here, it talks about how a fool doesn't care to understand the other person. A fool tries to go into situations and cause a lot of mess and quarrels. Quarrels means friction and issues, fights sometimes even. These two did not act like fools, trying to understand each other, and especially Keyshawn. Keyshawn was the one who starts the conversation. Hey, what made you mention my name in interviews? And I love how he started the question because he started with intention. There is a book that I have read called Compassionate Conversations, and it's a way to navigate hard conversations with some type of compassion so you can get to true resolutions. And I love this book. I think it's a good book. Go out and check it out, especially if you're trying to have a hard conversation with somebody. It's called Compassionate Conversations. And part of that book, it talks about leading with intention. Whenever you're going to go into a conversation that's going to have conflict, you want to lead with intention. Listen to what this book says. Having a clear intention will literally help us navigate our conversations when we encounter difficult terrain. To enter a conversation, other than the one that's simply social, without an intention is like walking into the wilderness without a compass. Here, Keyshawn is leading with intention, and his intention is, hey, why'd you bring me up in the interview? So what I'm guessing is at some point somebody interviewed T.O. and T.O. said something about Keyshawn, but I don't think Keyshawn was brought up. I just think that T.O. decided to take a dig at Keyshawn. And so now T.O. sitting next to him and he's asking, hey, why'd you bring me up in that interview? Really good way to start. Just full intention, a straight question. And let's see what T.O. says.
Just a question.
You said Crawford will beat me.
It's just an opinion.
I don't like that.
So as you see here, he says, hey, it's just a question. And then T.O. comes back with, you said Crawford would beat me. And then Keyshawn comes back and says, but it's just an opinion. And then T.O. comes back and says, well, I didn't like it. Which is very interesting. In another part of this book, Compassionate Conversations, it talks about when you do ask a question with intention, you have to be ready for whatever comes back to you once you ask that question with that intention. And here's what they say about that. Talk straight is a ground rule that encourages us to speak our truth simply and straightforwardly. We're going to come with intention, create a climate that the other person who you're trying to have this conversation with can talk very honestly with you. When it's time for the other person to respond, we have to respond with I statements. That is the secret sauce of the talk straight reaction to the question of intention. And here's what the book says. The first perspective. This means using I messages. As in, I think that, or I feel that, or I want this, or I will do this. The reason for this is that I messages convey only what is true for the individual. So that's really good. A lot of times what we might do is say, well, everybody feels that way, or such and such feel that way, or why can't you understand why that's not right? But really, how we are supposed to start when asked a question about our feelings or about our intentions, we are supposed to start with I feel or I am. We have to get used to this. If somebody answers our question, we have to be able to allow them space to respond honestly. And what T.O. say? He said, I didn't like it. Oh, that's amazing. Keyshawn allowed him just to say what he had to say without any blowback. Like, if you see his posture, he's still just keeping frame, and T.O. gave him a straight answer. I didn't like it. Let's keep going.
I hope you respect that.
I respect it.
I'm not saying Pedraza is gonna beat you.
Nah, I ain't say that. Because you know that's not gonna happen.
Maybe it can.
Everybody can when you step in that ring.
Just don't bite the bullet.
Before they even go forward, he said, I don't like it. He basically said, can you respect that? And then Keyshawn said, I can respect that. I love that. I love the fact that he goes, this is my feeling about it. Can you respect it? And Keyshawn's reaction was, yes, I can respect that. Really good interaction. Then T.O. gives him a scenario that sounds similar so that he can at least put Keyshawn in a way to feel what T.O. is saying. He says here, I didn't say Pedraza can beat you. And Keyshawn was like, no, you didn't, because it ain't going to happen. Now, you got to realize something here. That opinion that Keyshawn gave about T.O.'s fight, it wasn't a dig at T.O. It was just a professional opinion about the boxing of the two fighters. The problem is T.O. is operating in what the book would call a blind spot. And what is a blind spot? Research suggests that everyone has blind spots and hidden biases. It seems to be a product of the efficiency of our mind in creating categories and assigning meaning. Blind spots can be big or small, but regardless, they always distort our perception. So in T.O.'s scenario, the blind spot he has is that Keyshawn was making a dig at him when Keyshawn was just giving his opinion about the fight. And that has shaded his perception of Keyshawn to the point where he would talk crap about him in another interview. But I do like the fact that Keyshawn allowed him to express himself. So then Keyshawn could understand, okay, and now he's explained himself and expressed himself using an example. I know now that he was hurt by what I said, but I did not mean to hurt him. I did not mean for him to take it personally. I just was giving my opinion about the fight. At this point, Keyshawn could go, well, forget about it. I don't really care. Like, just whatever. This dude is super hurt about what I said. I didn't mean it like he thought I meant it. But instead of that, Keyshawn hangs in the conversation to gain some clarity. Let's check it out.
T.O., I never disrespected you, right? I accidentally disrespect what you said. For sure. They ain't even mention my name when you brought it up.
Interesting. So he's, instead of him just going ahead and just forgetting T.O. and leaving it alone, he basically clarified himself. I love this part here. He hung in the conversation. And that's one thing that the book also talks about is even when you're ready to hit the eject button because it's gotten so uncomfortable inside this hard conversation, hang in there. Let's see what the book says about this. People have a tendency when thinking of their extreme adversary to throw up their hands. It's not worth it. There's no talking to them. But there's a tremendous amount to be gained by simply staying with the more demanding conversations that occur in our immediate surroundings. Establishing personal connections with those who are different from us is immensely valuable. There may be issues where we don't change our position, but by staying in the conversation, we change our way of talking about it, and we change our relationship to other sides. I think even in all of our lives, and I am no exception, there are times I'm having a hard conversation with somebody that I'm emotionally connected to. And when it gets to a point, I just want to walk away. I just want to go into another room. I just want to be done with it. I'm sure that you all have situations like that in your life where you have a conversation, it's going nowhere. You feel like it's already out of whack. You feel like that nothing good's going to come of it. And then you want to leave. You want to hang up the phone. You want to get in your car, drive away. But what this book is saying and what Keyshawn is showing us is sometimes we got to hang in that conversation. Hang through the rough parts. Hang through the times you feel weird or the times you feel uncomfortable. Because if you hang in there, maybe as you continue to talk, some clarity can be manifested between the two people. Keyshawn said, hey, I wasn't trying to disrespect you, but what you said about me was disrespectful. T.O. then says, oh, you think so? And he's like, yes, because what he said, Keyshawn said, because they didn't even bring my name up in your interview. You brought my name up. So that's the difference between some people asking Keyshawn about T.O. and Crawford, and T.O. just having a regular interview and all of a sudden just bringing up Keyshawn's name. And he felt like it was disrespectful. Now, with that said, let's see what T.O. says.
A lot of times they mix my words up.
I seen video.
You did?
I seen it.
I ain't mean to disrespect you, brother. Good business.
That man said, what I love about this is like he said, sometimes they mix my words up. And then Keyshawn comes back and goes, I saw the video. You did. But what he said there after that was, I didn't mean to hurt you, brother. I didn't mean to do that to you, brother. He really didn't mean to hurt his feelings. T.O. is now practicing something that the book calls atonement. And what is atonement? To reflect on one's misdeeds, confess them to an individual or community, and repair the negative consequences of them. To be truly accountable for our mistakes, we need to be aware of the context of our misdeeds. The context of our misdeeds. See, he became aware of that. And this is really good. When you're trying to say I'm sorry to someone after you realize you've wronged them, what you need to first do is contextualize the actual wrongdoing. I'm sorry for, and be very specific what you're sorry for. So that's what atonement is. And then, as you saw what happened, Keyshawn shook his hand and they said good business or whatever. He shook his hand. He seemed like he's smiling, ultimately forgiving of the action of T.O. And what the book Compassionate Conversations says about forgiveness, Desmond Tutu, who's an Anglican pastor, defines forgiveness as the act of abandoning our right to resentment and revenge, and opening to those who have harmed us in order to make a new beginning together. So what I feel like is after this conversation, they were good. It took a very hard conversation, but after that, it seemed like they were good. They both won their matches. They figured out how to talk to each other and engage with each other on a very hard conversation, and they did it well. So I want to leave you with a Bible verse because, we back it up in the Bible. And here's what it says about forgiveness when it comes to somebody who has wronged you. Ephesians 4:31-32 says this: get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, and slander, as well as all types of evil behavior. Instead, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ has forgiven you. One of the hardest things to do in life is forgive someone, especially if someone has done you wrong. But we have to remember, there's a man named Jesus Christ who gave up his life so that when God looks at us, God can forgive all of our sins, even the ones that wrong him egregiously. And if God can look at our lives and the things we've done and forgive us for our sins, then we can be empowered to forgive other people for some of the wrongs they've done. It doesn't mean you have to hang out with them again, or you have to deal with them anymore, or that you have to try to be in some type of situation again with them. But forgiveness helps the situation between you and that person, and also helps you. I know what it's like to go through life with a lot of grudges. And it beats you down while them other people are living a carefree life. So when you sweep up your side of the street and you forgive and you also atone for the things you've done to somebody else, it will feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. And you can actually move and wade into a more lighter, newer life. I hope you got a lesson out of this conversation between two boxers just trying to get it right in a world full of wrong. And with that, it's been great. If you want more information from this channel, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Leave a comment of some times that maybe you had to forgive and it was hard, or some times that you had to go and say, I'm sorry to somebody. Hit the bell for a notification whenever I actually drop a video. And if you're very interested in how your reputation attracts opportunities, please click on this video over here. You will not be disappointed. With that said, I love you all. Way and Word out.